Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to track 2 for the 4 o'clock session, Ask and Share, a tool for families and schools to create a student-centered IEP. I'm Kimberly Ramones, the Senior Executive Director supporting instruction and compliance for the Special Education Office, and we're so happy to be here with you this afternoon around creating a student-centered IEP. Before we actually get started, I'd like to turn it over to our interpreters to share the interpretation lines and to get us started.
Hi everyone. So the Mandarin line, 这个中文的这个电话号码是347-966-4114，ID 是101-550-735加井字。再说一遍，这个电话号码是347-966-4114，这个 ID 是101-550-735加井字键。请听众朋友确保在您听翻译的这个过程当中静音您的手机，这样不会影响其他的人听到我们的这个翻译工作。谢谢 ，Thank you。
Okay, and can we have our Spanish interpreter, please? Okay, anyone from our Spanish interpretation here? I see we're connecting, okay. Oh, you are on mute.
Hello, this is a message in Spanish. Para los asistentes que deseen llamar a las líneas de español, podrán ver un video de los intérpretes que nos acompañan esta noche. El mensaje es el siguiente. Marquen, por favor, el número 347-966-4114 con el número de conferencia de siguiente 148-47-858 más numeral.
Hey.
Si quieren escuchar el audio en español, pero prefieren permanecer en esta sesión, por favor, una vez más, marquen el número 347-966-4114 y el número de conferencia de siguiente 148-47-858 más numeral. Para poder ver la audiencia en su computadora, por favor silencien su computadora y el volumen y marquen en la línea de conferencia en español en su teléfono. Una vez más, la línea es 347-966-4114. Más ingresen el número de PIN 148-47-858 más numeral. Gracias.
Thank you so much. And without further ado, I'm going to welcome our Executive Director for Regional Partnerships and Transition, Lauren Bolin.
Hi, thank you so much, Kim. Hi, everyone. So happy to see so many of you here. I'm actually going to be behind the scenes for this particular session. And so I just wanted you to know that I'll be monitoring the chat and doing my best to answer any questions that come up. And just like Jose said during the introduction, we'll certainly be collecting all of the questions. So if we don't get to anyone, there are 102 people on the line right now. So if there's a question that goes unanswered in real time, we will certainly make sure to collect those questions and use them. And if you want to leave contact information, then we can be sure to get back to you as well. But with that, I want to actually turn it over to our presenter for this session, who is our wonderful Shavonda Guilford. And
Hi, Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say how wonderful it was to work with you on these particular resources, Shavonda. But I will hand it over to you. Thanks.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Kimberly. Today, we're going to talk about the Ask and Share, which, as Lauren mentioned, is a resource that we both worked on, as well as other people within the special education office. And it's a tool for families and schools to create a student-centered IEP. I'm going to go into more detail throughout the presentation, so I'll leave you with that for now. Just in terms of protocol, so you know, for the session, your camera's going to be off and your microphone is going to be muted. But Lauren already mentioned that you can put your questions in the chat box. So whenever a question arises, please feel free to just drop it in the chat box, and Lauren will be there to assist with answering any questions in the chat box. And we will also leave time at the end to answer any questions as well. So I'm going to be your presenter, and I am Shavonda Guilford, and I am the special education trainer with the Bronx Regional Partnership Center. I'm actually going to turn my camera off during the presentation because I don't want you to see all my faces I'm going to make as I squint to read these slides, but you have my face right there looking at you. So feel free to take a look at that picture. But for today's session, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the Ask and Share. That's one piece of it. But we are going to discuss preparing for the IEP meeting and using this tool to create a experience and a meeting that feels collaborative and also a document that meets the needs of your child. So I'm really excited about it because we spent a lot of time working on this document, and I think that it is such a great resource. And I really, honestly, truly believe that it's going to assist you with participating fully in your child's IEP meeting. If you've ever attended an IEP meeting and maybe you might have felt a little bit unsure about where you might fit in, or maybe you didn't know what exactly you should say during the meeting, then this is a session where I'm hoping I can clarify some of that for you. And then also, if you feel like you have a pretty solid foundation about the IEP meeting and what it's like, then this is going to be a session for you to leave with some additional ideas and additional tools that are going to help you sharpen those skills. So on the right is actually a picture of the Ask and Share, so you know what it looks like. And if time allows, I'm going to try to actually show it to you on the actual website, but I do have screenshots throughout the session that you'll be able to see. But on the agenda, we're going to first look at our objectives. We're going to go over a little bit about the special education process so that you have a little bit of background. Then we'll talk about preparing for an IEP meeting. We'll look specifically at using the Ask and Share, and then I'm going to give you some more resources that I think will be really helpful as well. So as I mentioned, in today's session, we're going to discuss preparing for the IEP meeting using this tool. The purpose of the IEP is to support students with disabilities in making progress and also achieving their goals. One of the main purposes of the IEP meeting is to develop the IEP. As a parent, you play a very important role in the development of a high quality IEP. You know your child best, and you can speak uniquely to your child's behavior in different settings, as well as their functioning in different settings. Therefore, your participation in developing, reviewing, and updating your child's IEP is essential. Develop an IEP that reflects your child's strengths, interests, and needs, and their goals will improve their chance for success in school, at home, in the community, and beyond. And it's crucial that you feel prepared and supported throughout the IEP development process. It is my hope that in this session, you will leave with some tools that help you to feel as if you have that support and are able to fully collaborate within the session. So our objectives for today are: learn how to prepare for a student's IEP meeting, understand practices for participating in the IEP meeting in a meaningful and collaborative way, and review resources that can support parent or family participation in the IEP meeting. So first, let's begin with a very brief overview of special education. Since this will be brief, at the end of this session, I am going to share another resource with you. And that resource is the Family Guide to Special Education Programs and Services. That is going to really give you a more detailed explanation of these various pieces of the process. And again, I'm going to share that with you at the end. But special education is services and programs and instruction that's designed to meet the individual educational needs of a student with a disability. So on your screen, this is the process. With that being said, if you believe that your child may require special education services, you will begin by talking to your child's teacher about your concerns, as well as any supports that can be provided in your child's current classroom. Your child's teachers would develop supports and interventions to address your concerns. This is a part of the response to intervention or RTI process. During the RTI process, interventions are provided and your child's progress is monitored regularly. For whatever reason, if your child does not make adequate progress or you continue to suspect that your child may have a disability, you may submit an initial referral for special education services. And I do want to make it clear that you can submit an initial referral at any point in time. The initial referral can be made by sending a letter to the principal of your child's public school if they're enrolled in a public school. You can give a written statement to a staff member at the child's school. You can also ask a school professional to assist you in making the referral. If your child is in a non-public school, you can fax or mail a copy of that referral to the Committee on Special Education in your district. And that contact information can be found on the Department of Education's website. Once the referral has been received, you will receive a letter acknowledging receipt of your referral and asking for your consent to evaluate your child. When consent is received, your child will be evaluated, and after the evaluation, there is an IEP meeting. If this is the first time special education services are being discussed for your child, the IEP team will discuss your child's eligibility for special education programs and services, and if they are eligible, an IEP will be developed. Now, this is a very oversimplified process. I just want to point that out. If it is not the first time your child is receiving special education services, the IEP team will discuss continued eligibility, as well as your child's current progress, their strengths, areas of need, and other elements in order to develop a new IEP. After the IEP meeting, if your child is eligible, services will be arranged, or if they're continuing, services will be arranged. And as you can see, that's step 4 on this slide. And then for step 5, the IEP is reviewed every year and every 3 years. We're going to talk a little bit more about those types of IEP meetings in the coming slides, so I'll leave that for that. Now, again, for more detailed information about each of these stages of the IEP process, I would definitely like you to refer to the Family Guide to Special Education Services. And again, I'll share more information at the end about that document. So what is an IEP meeting? The goal of an IEP meeting is for the school and family of the student to work together to develop an IEP. That includes the programs and support the learning needs of the student. Now, who is a part of that meeting? So New York State regulations actually define the mandated members of the IEP team. And the IEP team is made up of a multidisciplinary group of people who have knowledge of the student, who have expertise in provision of special education services, understanding of the general education curriculum, and knowledge of the resources and programs within the district. The team membership does vary by the type of IEP meeting. Most teams are made up of the family of the student, the general education teacher, special education teacher, district representative, the student when appropriate, and the school psychologist when evaluation, information, and reports will be discussed. It is the psychologist's role to interpret evaluation data into meaningful ideas for instruction, supports, and also strategies. And for more information about the exact membership of the IEP meeting, again, the Family Guide to Special Education Services would be the place for you to find that information. On this slide, you can see the types of meetings. You have annual review, mandated 3-year re-evaluation, and a requested re-evaluation. The annual review is held every year to review the student's progress. The purpose of an annual review is to review all aspects of the current IEP to determine what goals were met during the current school year, consider any new information about the student's educational needs, and if the student continues to need special education supports, the team will write a new IEP that describes all aspects of the program for the coming school year. A mandated 3-year re-evaluation must be completed once every 3 years, unless the parent and the DOE agree in writing that it is not necessary. So if it is necessary, new evaluations will be conducted in the IEP meeting. At the IEP meeting, the results and the implications of those evaluations will be discussed. It's important to note that a reevaluation can be requested by the parent or school staff, but it may not be conducted more than one time a year, unless you and the DOE agree otherwise in writing. At all IEP meetings, regardless of whether they are annual reviews or mandated 3-year reevaluations, the IEP team will discuss the student's progress and achievement, strengths and needs, their ability to participate in instructional programs and general education, parents' concerns, transition services. They'll review and revise annual goals and recommend services in the least restrictive environment. And I know there's a session later about the continuum of services. So if you want more information about those recommended programs and services, I would definitely check out the session later on the continuum of special education services. And this is just to name a few items on the agenda at the meeting. So in short, all aspects of the student's IEP will be explored. I've spoken a lot about this IEP meeting and it being important for schools and families to, work together throughout the IEP process. But why is that important? Research shows that when families and schools work together to support learning, students benefit in various different ways. They achieve more regardless of socioeconomic status, ethnic, racial background, or a parent's education level. They earn higher grades and test scores. They enroll in higher level programs, adapt well to school and attend regularly, have better social skills and behavior, and graduate and go on to higher education more frequently. So now that we've looked at an overview of the entire process, a very simplified overview of the entire process, we're going to focus more closely on the IEP meeting portion of the process. So how can you prepare for the IEP meeting? First, you will be invited to attend the IEP meeting. If the proposed time and date do not work for you, you want to let the IEP team know. the IEP team can reschedule the meeting to a mutually agreeable time. Your child's evaluations, records, and reports should be provided to you in advance of the meeting. You should review these documents and write down any questions or concerns that you may have. If you need language assistance, such as an interpreter, you should let the IEP team know at least 3 business days before the IEP meeting so that the interpreter can be arranged. If needed, you can request a parent member in writing up to 72 hours before the scheduled date of the meeting. If you are unfamiliar with parent members, this is a parent of a student with a disability. Typically, they're residing within your child's school district or a neighboring school district, and you may request that this parent member attend your child's IEP meeting to provide you with support during the meeting. Because they are a parent also of a student with disability, they have gone through this process, as well as they have received additional training on the special education process and can help, clarify things for you and just assist you as a support. If it's appropriate, you want to talk to your child about the IEP meeting. Prepare them to attend part of the meeting or the entire meeting. I know sometimes there are certain parts of the meeting that you may not want your child to necessarily participate in. So it's okay for them to participate in part of the meeting and then, be excused for the remainder of the meeting. Have your child write down any questions or concerns they may have, or to tell you any questions or concerns they may have. And it's important to note that the year that your child turns 15, they will become a mandated member of the IEP team. So they will automatically be invited to the meeting. If it's appropriate, as a parent, you can definitely ask that your child attend the meeting sooner. And attending the IEP meeting does help students develop critical self-advocacy skills. If you think about it, who knows your child better than themselves? They're sitting, within the classroom. They are the ones working with the teachers more closely. So they're able to provide some crucial information to the IEP team to help to develop the best IEP possible. Sorry. So last, you do want to be sure to review the Ask and Share, and also the Family Guide to Special Education Services. I've said that so many times because it's just that important. You want to review your child's schoolwork. You can also consider their strengths or needs. You can, and in addition, you can review any other sources of information about your child that may help you prepare for that meeting. Now, on this slide, this is another picture of the Ask and Share. And as I mentioned, it is a resource that can help you prepare for and participate in your child's IEP meeting. This tool provides important questions for you to ask and information for you to share at your child's IEP meeting and also throughout the year. There are 3 different editions. There's elementary, middle, and high school. You should select the version that applies to your child. In addition, these documents are also available in all of the DOE approved languages. So if you would like a language other than English, it is available on the DOE's website. And I am going to show you how to access it. But this link on the screen is how you will access it. The way that the book works is there is a what to ask and what to share checklist. And it is actually organized, the book itself is organized in the same order as the sections of your child's IEP. So for each section of the IEP, there are suggestions about what questions to ask your child's IEP team, and then suggestions for what information you should share about your child. Before the IEP meeting, you want to review the document and check off the questions that you plan to ask and the information that you plan to share. During your child's IEP meeting, the IEP team will walk you through your child's IEP section by section. And if for some reason they do not, you can ask them to walk you through it section by section. It is the IEP team's responsibility to provide you with the information as required in each section of the IEP. During the meeting, if you want more information or if something is unclear, you would take the opportunity to ask questions. In addition, you can use this as a note-taking tool during the IEP meeting to record what was discussed. There's space provided for you to also add questions and to add information. And we're going to go through this in more detail. Now, how can you use the ask and share before the meeting? I've kind of mentioned some of it, but I'm going to go through it again in more detail. You want to read the questions in the what to ask sections, and I'm going to show you what the pages look like as well. You're going to check off any questions you plan to ask, and then you want to write down any other questions you have about the different sections of the IEP. Then you want to review the what to share sections. Prepare any information you plan to share about your child. Remember that the year your child turns 15, so they'll be 14 or 15, they become a mandated member of the IEP team. So if appropriate, you want to help your child choose any questions that they would like to ask and have them think about any information that they would like to share with the IEP team. Now, not all suggestions for what to ask or to share will apply to your child. Also, you may wish to share or ask additional information. There's space for you to add any additional information you want to ask or share. You are not limited to these questions or suggestions by any means. Now, during the IEP meeting, the IEP team will discuss eligibility for special education services, your child's current progress, supports and services, and all the other things that I've mentioned throughout this session and at the beginning of this session when we talked about the IEP meeting. At the meeting, you want to make sure that you have a copy of your child's most recent IEP, and you want to ask your child's IEP team to walk through it section by section. You want to also make sure you have your copy of the ask and share. And during the meeting, you want to take notes about what is being discussed. Throughout the meeting, you are going to ask those questions and share the information that you pre-selected. And also, if it's appropriate and your child is present, you're going to have them ask their questions and share information as well.
Shavonda, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I'm seeing in the chat that the Spanish translation line is not open at the moment. So if I can just pause and ask our Spanish interpreter to unmute and give the translation line again.
I'm sorry. So for Mandarin interpreter, do we need re-enter?
I think the Mandarin interpretation line looks to be okay. Can we just have our Spanish interpreter just share the login details again?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm sorry. It's just it hasn't worked too well today. I've been co-interpreting simultaneously with my partner the first 10 minutes, and I don't understand why. And then now it's been extremely difficult because when he realized I was doing it, he stopped, but I hear them talk. I hear all their conversations, so I'm being constantly disturbed by their noise, questions to him, everything, plus the English, the platform that I'm simultaneously trying to interpret accurately. So I'm doing both, and my left ear is hearing them, and I don't know why this is happening. It's very strange because I've been doing this for like 14 months now, practically every week. Sometimes there is a problem. We're muted automatically, so we need to do that constantly.
Okay, let's see.
I don't know what's going on. I really don't. If anybody could help me, because while I interpret, I cannot. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see what we can troubleshoot offline. Thank you so much. Sorry to have interrupted, Shavonda. Thanks.
No, you're fine. Okay, thank you. And if you continue to have those technical difficulties, please feel free to put it in the Q&A so that we can assess. Okay, where were we? I think we were moving on. Yes. Okay, sorry. Gotta get my slide to move. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna show you how to navigate to it, and I'm going to put the link in the chat box. I just don't want to navigate from the slides just yet, but don't worry, I'm going to show you where to find it online and how to get to it. So I'm not gonna give you all this information and then keep it from you. So don't worry. On this slide is the page, one of the pages, just a sample of somewhat of what a page looks like. And I'm actually going to show you online, as I mentioned. Here you can see this is the present levels of performance and individual needs, or the plot section is just a piece of it. It's part 2 of it. And at the top of each section of the X Can Share, you're going to see that there is a description explaining to you what that section is about. Below the description, you can see that there are the various questions for you to ask. And as I mentioned, there's check boxes for you to check what questions you would like to ask. Now, on this page, this will be the same page. It's one long page with the description, what to ask, what to share, and then notes. This has the share section, and you can see it also has check boxes for you to also check what you would like to share. And then below it, you see that there is note sections. I want to point your attention to where it says suggestion. So for some sections of the IEP, there are actually suggestions for what you should take notes on. So on this page, because we're talking about the plot at this point in the meeting, the present levels of performance, is asking you to put down your child's levels in reading, writing, and math, and any other strengths or needs. So you would jot that information down. So throughout the document, there are some suggestions for what you should take notes on. Now, after the meeting, so once the meeting is completed, you want to keep your completed X Can Share. You don't want to throw it away or lose it. You want to hold on to it. And when you receive a copy of your child's completed IEP, you want to review your notes. And if you have any additional questions or something is unclear in the completed IEP, or if maybe the contents are different than what you recall being discussed, then you want to contact your child's IEP team. Now, if it's appropriate, you want to then discuss that meeting with your child. Find out if your child has any additional questions or if something was unclear to them as well. Encourage your child to speak with their teachers. And as I mentioned before, this does help build self-advocacy skills. We want, our children to be able to speak up for themselves and to be able to ask for what they need to be successful. So this helps to encourage those skills. So on this page, here are a few additional features that I haven't mentioned yet, or I have mentioned some of them. Your child's IEP meeting is an important time for you to discuss discuss any transitions that are happening for the coming year. And when I say transition, one, we use transition as a term meaning a student moving from high school to post-secondary life, so life after high school. But I'm also using it in the term of if your child is moving from kindergarten, from preschool to kindergarten, or if they're moving from elementary to middle school, or if they're moving from middle school to high school, or life after high school. So some sections of this document do have guidance on preparing your child for life after high school, as well as those other moving up moments. So also at the beginning of the resource, there may be a longer description about things to consider if your child is moving up. In addition, throughout the resource, there are tips related to each section of the IEP. There are tips or reminders for you about that particular step in the process or that particular section. And then at the very, very end of the Ask and Share, you're going to find there's an extended notes section where you can capture any additional notes. If you have, a whole lot that you need to write down, it's a few pages for you to be able to capture that information. Now, on this slide are some of the resources I discussed, and then I'm going to navigate over to the internet and I'm going to show you how to get to all of these things. The first one is the Family Guide to Special Education Services, which is the document right there at the top one. And then we have the Family Guide to Transition Planning, which is the picture on the bottom right. And I haven't mentioned that one yet, but if you have a child who's moving from high school to life after high school, so college, careers, independent living, whatever that trajectory may be, the Family Guide to Transition Planning has detailed information about preparing your child for life after high school. Also on this slide, you see the DOE website, which is where I'm going to take you and show you how to get to the Ask and Share. And then I also have the special education mailbox if you have additional questions that are related specifically to your child. So if you have a particular question about a particular situation with your child and you would like additional guidance, you can email the mailbox. And then last but not least, I have included NYC, which is the State Parent Center. So if you would like additional resources, they also have workshops. Feel free to check out their website. So I'm going to navigate over to the DOE website. I'm going to have to stop sharing and then reshare to make this work for you. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, so the DOE's website, this is what it looks like, and I don't want to scroll too quickly, but actually let me take you through each step so you'll know how to get back to it in case you lose the link. So this is the landing page of the DOE website. So www.schools.nyc.gov. Okay. You go to learning. You want to go to special education. You want to click on that. And this is our special education landing page that has a whole lot of information about special education. So even about the process that I mentioned, you can go onto this site as well to get more detailed information about it. But also, if you scroll down, you see where it says Family Resources. That's where we want to click. And and in the chat box, I'll put the direct link to the Ask and Share for you. It'll take you to this landing page. So the link is going to take you here to this landing page. It's called Special Education Family Resources. You want to scroll down, scroll a little more, and then you'll see the resources. So get help in your language. We have the Family Guide to Preschool Special Education Services. Here's the Family Guide to Special Education School Age Services, which I mentioned so many times. And you have all of the languages here. So you would click on the language that you prefer. Here is the Family Guide to Transition Planning, where you can click on the language you prefer. And last but not least, definitely not least, is our ask and share. So here's elementary first, we have middle second, and we have high school last. And I'm just going to click on high school since I'm here. So I'm going to click on English, open that up. And here we have the ask and share, which you can still see this, correct? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to scroll down. This is what it looks like. This is high school. Notice the first page is just telling you a little bit about the IEP process, preparing for the meeting, some of the things I mentioned today, the link for additional resources. This is the table of contents. It is in the same order as the sections of the IEP. And then there's information on how to use it. So everything that you've just become an expert on today is here on this page if you need to refer back to something. And then here's that transition planning I was talking about. So because this is the high school version, this is focusing on your child moving to life after high school. So that's what you have here. And last, but let me see what else. So, and this will be each page. So here's the first page of the IEP. You see the questions to ask, the questions to share, the cover page. And for example, here's the plot page, what to ask, what to share, and then the notes and so forth. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to put the link in the chat box for you for the resource. And I'm going to, Lauren, we have some time for questions if you want to open the floor for questions.
Thanks, Shavonda. I've been answering a lot of questions in the chat. I'm in the middle of answering one right now. Some of the questions have been around how to request an IEP meeting. A few people did ask that question. So we might want to just say that out loud to everybody. And let's see, I'll see if I can pull up a couple of more.
So let me see. So I think I'm putting the link in the chat box.
Oh, yes. And some folks, there was somebody who asked if they could also get a hard copy, I think, of the ask and share if they're not able to access it online. So there's that question too, but hopefully most people will be able to access it online. I know not everybody can sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So with the hard copies, we do have someone, but because this document kind of was rolled out during the pandemic, we don't have a way to get them to the schools just yet. So that's something we have to work out. So hopefully we'll be able to get some in the hands of you all, maybe in the family welcome centers or somewhere, but that's something that we'll have to work on for as the world is reopening. So we had a little standstill in that, but we'll definitely make sure we consider that we have some hard copies. It's definitely on the list of things to do. And in terms of the asking for an IEP meeting, so as I mentioned, remember that in the last step in the process is when the IEP is reviewed annually and also every 3 years. This is not something you would have to ask for. This is actually something that should happen and is initiated by the school. So on the front page of your child's IEP, I believe it's in the top right corner, I want to say, you're going to see a date that says anticipated IEP meeting or some similar language to that. That is the expected date for your child's IEP meeting. So you should be receiving some kind of notice to be invited to that meeting way ahead of that particular date. So when you have a moment, pull up your child's IEP, look at that date, and that's when the anticipated date for when your child's IEP meeting should be happening. It could happen, a few months before that date, but that is the date it should be happening by. So it's not something you would have to necessarily ask for or you would have to initiate.
Right. Thank you, Shavonda. And a couple of people were just asking if they felt that it wasn't the exact right level of programs and services that was on their child's current IEP, even if it's not, I guess, time for that annual review, whether or not they could request an IEP meeting instead of waiting for that time. And so I, of course, answered that they could request an IEP meeting if they feel that it's it's not the right level of service. Yeah, you know, we want to be careful because some yeah, one says, can I request an IEP meeting to update a specific service? So so sure, a lot of variations of that theme here.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lauren said. So if you remember the slide when it had the types of meetings, it did say when requested. So as Lauren mentioned, you are welcome to request an additional, to request a reevaluation if you feel it's required to adjust programs and services. And I think Lauren already answered that perfectly.
Thanks. Related, there's a question about if your child doesn't have an IEP right now, but you think that she may need one. So then again, you would request that. You would request an evaluation to determine whether or not your child, or in this case, grandchild, requires an IEP. You know, we want to acknowledge also it's been a very challenging year during COVID, and that's why, you know, Christina Foti during her opening talked about some of the services that we're going to be offering all children, because we recognize that they're, you know, people are worried, rightfully so, about learning loss that occurred during this year. And so there will be services offered even outside of, you know, your child's IEP as well. Hopefully that will also help, because we definitely want to make sure that we're evaluating any student who may need an IEP. And we also want to make sure that we're providing the right level of services to all students, you know, and not, you know, and just, you know, making sure that they have available to them what they need in order to be successful in school. It's been a tough year.
Yes, definitely. I think what I didn't mention, and I do see this in the chat box, is what happens if you're not satisfied with the meeting that has taken place. So if you aren't satisfied with the IEP meeting for whatever reason, the first thing you do want to do is I would start with speaking with the IEP team. You can speak with the IEP team. You can speak with the principal at your child's school. That's the first step. Now, if your concerns are not resolved, then you do have a few options. As I mentioned, there is the email address that I provided to you, and I can put it in the chat box for the special education office. You can feel free to send your concern so that we are able to assist you. It is a mailbox that is monitored every day, so your email will get answered. It's not one of those things where we send you to a mailbox, you never hear from someone. So someone will get in contact with you directly, and that's one option. And then also I should mention due process. So as a parent, you do have due process rights, which involve mediation and an impartial hearing. So you can also request mediation or impartial hearing if you feel like that's the route you would like to take.
Yes, thanks, Shavonda. Somebody is asking, I know we're up on time, and there's still some really great questions in here. For some reason, they all came in right at the very end. I was able to keep up for a while there. So definitely, you know, use those resources that Shavonda has shared, and the contact information, the email as well. Yeah, and remember that there are additional sessions coming up, and there is a panel discussion, one of which, you know, has some parent advocates on it, and then another, and parent leaders and experiences from other parents. And so that might be a good place to also visit. But again, we're all, you know, any individual questions about your particular students, do feel free to email the special education inbox, and somebody will always get back to you.
Exactly. And don't forget, I'm going to say it one more time before we go, the Family Guide to Special Education Services. Check that out if you have some questions that can be answered by reviewing that document. But thank you everybody for your time. I appreciate you being here today, and it was a pleasure presenting to you all.